for the City of Milpitas, and I will be the hearing officer for today's virtual hearing. Zoning administrative hearings are typically held on Thursday mornings, but today's hearing is being held off our regular schedule due to extenuating circumstances at the existing property or at the subject property and the need to review the permit and to hold the public hearing in a timely manner. And I want to acknowledge the efforts of staff in preparing the staff report and coordinating the meeting on a very accelerated timeline. Thank you for those efforts. Tonight is also a city council meeting. So for anyone listening in virtually, I just wanted to announce that the meeting will begin at 7 o'clock tonight. One of the primary items on the agenda will be the Metro specific plan. And it's a study session with our consultants, and that will be a very interesting discussion. So anyone who's interested is invited to join that meeting later tonight. But for today's meeting, we'll begin, as always, with public forum. Members of the online audience may submit written comments to the hearing officer on any subject that is not on this morning's agenda. The online agenda for the meeting includes a web link to submit written comments via email. Comments submitted in writing will be read into the record by the meeting secretary. Those submitting comments are asked to include their name and city of residence for the record. Comments will be limited to 1 minute. No response is required from city staff or the hearing officer on any item that's not on today's agenda. Hearing secretary, have we received any general comments?
Good morning. We have not received any comments.
Great, then we will proceed into the item for today's public hearing. We have one item. The order of, or the hearing procedure and order of input will be as follows. I will identify the project as it is described on the agenda. Staff will then provide a brief report. At that point, if the applicant or the representative wishes to speak, they'll have up to 5 minutes, and they may identify themselves by stating their name for the record. You don't have to speak if you don't wish to. You can just wave or introduce yourself, and we'll move on. After the applicant or the representative has spoken, any member of the public who wishes to speak on the item may provide comments up to 2 minutes per speaker, either for or against the project. All speakers should state their name for the record. Following comments from the public, the applicant may respond to public comments or make additional remarks for up to 5 minutes. So with that procedure, we will go ahead and start. I'll pull up my agenda. Got it here. So the item that we have before us, we just have one item for public hearing today. This is a new single family home at 1461 Saturn Court. It's a request for a site development permit to allow demolition of a 1,150 square foot single family residence and the development of a new 1,416 square foot one-story single family residence, together with a 575 square foot attached accessory dwelling unit, or ADU, and a 524 square foot attached garage. And again, the address is at 1461. We have our senior planner, Michael Fasati, here to provide a brief staff report. Michael.
Thank you, Director Thomas. I'll wait for the PowerPoint presentation to be brought up. Great. So good morning, Director Thomas, fellow staff and members of the public. My name is Michael Fasati. I'm a senior planner here with the City of Milpitas, and I will be presenting the site development permit application for the property at 1461 Saturn Court. Next slide, please. Ying Lee and her parents own the property at 1461 Saturn Court and have proposed to demolish their existing residence and replace it with the new 1,416 square foot single family residence, again with the 575 square foot attached dwelling unit, also known as an ADU, and a 524 square foot garage. This total floor area will be approximately 2,515 square feet. The rendering on the right is the form of the proposed residence. Next slide, please. This is an aerial image of the site. It lies east of South Park, Victoria, and west of Alexander Rose Elementary School in a single family residential area. The court itself is the home to approximately 14 residences, with the majority of them being single story. I believe 2 of them are 2-story. Next slide, please. As proposed, the 1,400 square foot house, which includes the floor area and the garage, would be demolished into an approximately new 2,500 square foot house, attached ADU and garage. As demonstrated in the site plan above, to the left or to the right, depending on how you're looking at this, the majority of the addition is occurring at the rear of the property. The floor plan designates the blue area as residence, the green area as an attached ADU, and the red portion as a 2-car garage and laundry room. Next slide, please. The modest 1-story structure includes a composition shingle hip roof assembly, an entry door and garage with window details, vinyl windows, and a sprayed-on stucco exterior in a beige color. The earth tone color and low profile design allows the new structure to integrate into the residential neighborhood it currently lies in. Next slide, please. Staff has confirmed the findings for the proposed site development permit can be made. In summary, the single-family house and accessory dwelling structure is in a single-family residential neighborhood. Furthermore, the project complies with all setbacks and height standards of the single-family zoning district it's located in. Next slide, please. The staff has determined the project be exempt from CEQA per section 15303 that allows new construction of a single-family residence, and 15183 that demonstrates projects consistent with the general plan and zoning are exempt from CEQA. Next slide, please. The project was noticed in a local paper and postcards were sent out. Staff received one call from a neighbor requesting just simple courtesy information on the project, but expressed no opinions or concerns on the project. Next slide, please. So staff recommends opening and closing the public hearing and approving SD 20-0009 based on the findings and subject to the conditions of approval. This concludes staff's summary of the project, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And before I have any comments or questions, I think I'll see if the applicant is with us this morning. Ms. Lee, do you have any additional comments or anything that you would like to add? Good. I think I saw you shake your head. So you're good to go?
Yeah, I have no comments. Just proceed forward, please.
Great. Thank you. We appreciate you for being here this morning. So with that, I'll open the public hearing. Other than the one comment that Michael noted that came into him by phone, do we have any email comments this morning, Liz?
We've received no comments.
Okay, then we'll close the public hearing. And I have just a few comments or questions. So with this type of application, we always look at the findings. As staff has indicated, the proposal meets the findings that are set forward in the zoning ordinance for us to approve this type of a project. Really quickly, as he noted, the project is consistent with the general plan. It's a single family house, and the general plan designation for this lot is single family residence. Also, the zoning is consistent with the zoning in meeting all of the setbacks and the height requirements. And it's also consistent, I would add, with the city's new ADU ordinance. And we appreciate the residents' interest in adding the additional accessory dwelling unit. Definitely something that the city has encouraged, and it's very nice to see this happening in the community and providing more, an additional affordable housing opportunities in the city. And then the last finding that we have is that it's compatible and aesthetically harmonious with the neighborhood. And I really appreciate the slide that added some additional detail on the colors and the materials that will be added to the house. And it is a single family house, so it matches, but it's very similar to what was there previously, and it will match the other houses that are in the neighborhood, which are, as was noted, are largely 1- and 2-story homes. I did note that in an earlier view of the house, there was a very large tree in the front yard. It's my understanding that there was a tree removal permit was received previous. I just wanted to confirm that, and if there will be replacement trees. There wasn't a landscape plan in the packet, so staff, could you talk a little bit about the replacement trees?
Sure, Director Thomas. There was an application submitted by the applicant and approved in February of 2020 for that. There's a tree that's, you may notice in the Google image in the front of the property. The reason for the removal of the tree was the root structure was impacting the plumbing utilities, and it needed to be removed. There is in that application itself, there's a replacement trees being placed in the rear of the property being proposed, so that we were able to approve it. They were able to remove the tree. I did speak specifically with the applicant, and it sounded like they wish they could have kept it. It just really impacted that the utilities.
With the replacement of the house, will there be new utilities also placed in the ground? I don't know. Is there, I guess, and what I'm getting at is, will there be an opportunity to replant any trees in the front yard, or is that just going to always be a problem with the utility pipes running underneath?
I'd probably defer that to the applicants because I didn't have a landscape plan.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment, we don't plan on planting any more trees in the front yard, but we may plant it in the back instead, or, probably in the back, or sidewalk, but sidewalk is so narrow, but probably in the back.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, one of the things that was missing from our application then was the landscape plan, and I might ask that we add a condition of approval to the project that within, I don't know, what's a reasonable time frame, maybe within the next 2 months or 3 months, that and hopefully it'd be sooner than that, that the applicant could submit just a very basic landscape plan for how the property will, how they propose to landscape the property as part of the overall project. And that would include identifying the location of the 2 replacement trees in the backyard.
Yeah, that can be done. I mean, not the landscape plan, but they already identified the location of the trees, so.
Okay. Yeah, we should have a basic landscape plan to go with we'll just slip it into the plans that we have. So if you can work with the applicant to get that. The other item that I noticed I was a little bit curious was on sheet A1 in the plans, it looked like it might have been part of the original plans that was showing additions. And I thought it was a little bit curious because it was my understanding this has become a complete demolition and a rebuild. So I didn't know if it was accurate to show those as additions when this is entirely new. It's not a big problem because the plans show what will be built, but I don't know. I just found that a little bit odd that was still showing those as additions. When was that just showing additions to the original house?
It was, if you actually look at the scope of work, that's where the change had been made. So on the 5th resubmittal by the applicant, they clearly state that they're demoing existing house and building a new house. I know that doesn't correlate directly with the site plan that you're referring to, but if you end up going to the next sheet, I took another look at the floor plan. It shows all brand new walls. It's a brand new house. The project scope of work states it's a brand new house. So.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, we're a little bit out of order since normally we would do this before we got to the demolition and the building of the house. But I just wanted to clarify that they were not necessarily additions; it was a new construction. And then, I also appreciate it again that we had in the slides some additional detail on the elevations. I know the elevations that was in the site plan, and we put things together very quickly, but it was kind of just a basic. I think you called it just the kind of the form of the house, and normally we would look for a little bit more than that, but I think with the additional detail that we've had in the presentation today that we're good to go. I guess did that information, is that part of the building, the information that was included in the slide today with the materials and the details particularly on the front elevation of the house, is that part of their building permit application? Is that where those details came from?
It's not. Staff worked directly with the applicant to kind of figure out, because I had asked specifically, hey, do you have a door picked out, and do you have a garage door picked out? And so what Ying and I worked out with is an approximate idea. You noticed both the garage door and the front entry door have those panel windows, and so that look is kind of what they're proposing. I'll speak on behalf of the applicant. I think there was a little concern that you know, and this happens in typical construction where you say you're going to use this particular material. Eventually, 12 months down the line, you want to put that garage door in. Now you can't find it because they don't have it, right? So she was, she knows well enough that just the idea of that type of door that they want to use, I definitely believe we can add a condition in, since staff will have to come on the back end to approve certificate of occupancy, that we determine or confirm that those types be placed in that we confirm that those materials, the garage door with the windows and the front door with the windows, be installed.
Yeah,
If
or
that's something you'd
something,
like.
yeah, or something similar. Yeah, if we could add a condition of approval also to address that, and maybe along with the landscape plan, the applicant can also submit just a simple sheet identifying the colors and the materials, and if they can, and similar to what you have there with the examples of the doors, and like you say, it might not be that exact door, but it would have to be something very similar. So we'd just like to have that on record so that when we go back and do the final inspection, that we have something to compare with.
Is that something you're open to, Ying?
Sure. You mean the landscape plan? Yeah, I can just put something, on CAD like really quickly, and then what kind of cheese how big it will grow into, something like that. Very simple, just like the location of it, right? And then
Correct. That's part of it. The second part of it is that that you call out a specific door, a little more certain of what your entry door and your garage door is going to be.
Well, and the colors and the materials.
And the
stucco. I would just like to have that on the record, that that's what we're doing, so that when we come back and do the final inspection, that we know what we're looking for. And not necessarily the specific door, but the idea of what that's going to look like, similar to what was in the presentation today. Would just be a separate sheet that would be submitted to the planning for the record, the project record.
Director Tom, I think we may have lost her. It looks like she's stuck.
Oh, okay.
On mine.
Well, that happens sometimes.
I to kind of keep things going, I'm very confident that they'll be able to do that. During this time of creating the staff report, I had a couple conversations with her, and we were working hand in hand to kind of get the materials that I demonstrated in the slide, in the presentation.
Yeah, just the 2 additional sheets. So yeah,
Sure.
I'll have planning manager work with you on that. So we got the elevation, and then if I read the elevation correctly, they were going from a 1-car garage to a 2-car garage, correct? And so they meet I saw in the staff report, they meet all their parking requirements. So they have 2 in the garage and then 2 in the driveway.
Correct. It's a 4-bedroom.
I know they're not required to have ADU, but it's always a concern, and the neighborhood's a little tight, so I wanted to make sure they had ample parking and looked good. Okay, with that, we can meet all of the findings for the general compatibility with the general plan, the zoning, and compatibility with the neighborhood. And so before I move, looks like, yeah, planning manager, do you have a comment?
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I did have a comment that might be helpful to add to the conditions of approval, to stipulate that ADU is not allowed to be used as a short-term rental. I think it might be helpful now and in the future, as we entitle projects like this, that it's very clear to the property owner that it cannot be used as an Airbnb or a short-term rental in any circumstance. And if we put it in the conditions, it's just much more clear from the front.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I had that in the back of my mind, and yeah, I agree. And that comes from both our local ADU ordinance as well as written into state law, that the purpose of having the ADU, of the city supporting ADUs, in fact, the state law supporting ADUs, is that we create additional affordable housing opportunities, of which this ADU will become one. Thank you. Yeah, so we'll add that 3rd. So we have 3 added conditions.
Got it.
So with that, I mentioned that we meet all of the findings. We have the added conditions. Staff will work with the applicant on landscaping and the material, almost like a color and material sheet for the plans and for the project record. And with that, I can approve the project for this morning of the single family house at 1461 Saturn Court with the ADU and the garage. And the project is approved. That's our only item for this morning. So we'll move to closing. Any person aggrieved by any decision of a board, commission, or department head to the city of Milpitas may appeal the decision to the city council by filing written notice of the appeal with the city clerk within 12 calendar days of the date of said decision and paying the required fee. The time limit is strictly enforced. With that, this concludes the administrative hearing of September 15th, 2020, and we thank everyone for their participation this morning. And as always, we appreciate the support from our IT and our city manager team and the city manager's office. Thank you very much. Any additional comments from either staff, planning manager, or planning secretary at this time? All right, we'll move on to our other work for today. We again appreciate the extra effort that went into today's meeting, and we'll conclude our hearing for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to see everybody this morning, bright and early.